Evan, not to bring up what happened with Patrick too much on Saturday, but I know you've kind of become a mentor for him, and he's talked about what's kind of the message when you have a mistake like that in an atmosphere. I'm sure you've experienced similar things. How do you kind of help him through that, or do you even need to do that with somebody like Patrick?
Definitely have experienced things like that in my career. So yeah, I had some stuff to say to him, but in those moments, when you make mistakes, you feel like everyone's coming to say something to you, right? So you don't want to, you want to be aware of, what his emotional state is as well. So very simply to him, all I said was, you need to respond walking into the locker room. Forget about what, the people in the stands, are thinking or saying. Forget about, for all respect, what the media is saying. What really matters is you walking in the locker room and making sure you're giving the message that you're still confident to the guys in the locker room, because they're going to look for that. They're going to look for that response. And the goalkeeper position is a unique position in that sense, similar to like a center back making a mistake, where if you make a big mistake, it results in something catastrophic typically. And it did. So now you need to show that that's not going to define you. You're going to move forward. And he's got the ability to do that. Mentally, he's a sharp kid, and I think he's built confidence to this point. And the last thing you want to do is disregard everything that you've done to this point in the 10 or whatever games he's played and focus on one mistake, because he's been in good form outside of that. So, for me, that was my message to him. I didn't really want to harp on it a whole lot. Didn't want to make it about me, obviously, and things that I've been through in my career, but I'm able to say that to him because I have been through those things in my career, and he understands that. So I think he respects when guys like myself or the older guys can have those types of words with him, as opposed to the throwing the arms up in the air and talking behind backs. That's unproductive. So it was very simple.
A couple weeks ago, you guys were able to go on the road, an Open Cup game, get a good result. It resulted in kind of a bounce back performance after a few games. I know you weren't entirely thrilled with the results. How can you then use this to turn around things quickly and help you move forward, with Pittsburgh, but then also in MLS play going forward?
Yeah, it's Cup play gives you very interesting opportunities in the middle of the season to, like you said, kind of shift that momentum, regardless of who's on the field. So we went to Loudoun and we got a good result with guys that we were able to keep back here. But I think it energized the group, because the guys that are, the quote unquote starters who've played heavy minutes, now they feel like they're getting pushed, which they should feel that way. And the guys on the bottom, or not the bottom, let's say the guys that aren't the lower minute players, they're getting good results and they're feeling confident. So they're coming into training and they're feeling energized. So it creates a momentum. And the further you go in Cup competition, the more that, it multiplies on top of each other. So we're going to go into Pittsburgh and it's going to be very difficult. Loudoun was a very different opponent than what we're going to face in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's got a lot more maturity in their squad, a lot more experience. Their coach is really good at these competitions. Bob Lilly's been doing this for a long time. So anybody that's been around Open Cup and around the different levels of soccer in this country know that anytime you play him in any type of competition, it's going to be a tough game. So now our job, the guys that have been around this game in this country for a long time, to let the younger guys, and maybe the guys that don't understand that side of it, understand this is not going to be like it was 2 weeks ago. It's going to be a difficult game, much more difficult environment, all those different things that go in Cup games. It's not, you don't have to look too far to get examples. Last year Sacramento went to the final. So MLS, USL, whatever league it is, it always creates different competition. And this country, England, whatever it is, there's always upsets, and you have to be really sharp to avoid those upsets.
How have you found it this year with as many young guys as there are playing more minutes than maybe a year ago, just working with some of these guys, especially with what Wilfried asks of a lot of these players to just, I know you've talked about potentially becoming a coach down the road and whatnot. So how have you found working with some of those young guys?
It's been different in some ways, but it's been exciting in some ways too. A lot of ways, really. You mentioned being a mentor earlier, and I've taken that role to heart in a lot of ways, while also simultaneously trying to push every day to continue to better myself, right? Because once you stop doing that, trying to be the best you can be every day, then you lose credibility in the locker room, on the field, with your teammates, all those different things. And the last thing I want to do is let my level drop on a day-to-day basis, and then other guys will see that and their levels will drop.
Yeah.
I don't want to be complacent. I don't want to be content. 37 years old, if a 22-year-old sees that, they're going to look at it in the wrong way, right? So for me, that's one part of it. Then the other part of it is there's a lot of quality with the young players. And I think what you're starting to see now over the first 13 games of the league play and a couple cup games is trying to understand the moments that are the most meaningful moments in games, right? So, and I'm sure Wilfred's talked about this, I'm sure younger guys are talking about this, but understanding which moments are the moments to try things, or to really carry the momentum or break the momentum. All those different things about the process is one important aspect, and that's what we're always focused on, and focus on the task and the process and all those things. But it needs to end with what your target is, and the target's always a result. So when you get up 2-0 or you're down 2-0 or whatever, you want to play the same way, but you also have to understand the nuances of the game.
Sure.
And so guys have to learn that on their own too. They can't just, your parents tell you something, you're not going to listen to them until you make the wrong mistake, right? And I'm a parent now, I see my kids doing it all the time, it drives me crazy. But that's kind of the same concept here, is where they need to learn it themselves, but you're hoping that you can point those moments out before they come, or when they're in the moment, or those types of things. So it's been a little bit of a juggling contest with that.
Have you seen them grow in that over the last couple months?
I think so. Take for example the first game of the year, Philadelphia. I think we played relatively well in that game, but the game got out of hand quickly, and we couldn't get back into it. Whereas Cincinnati, it looked like it was going to get out of hand, and it could have been 4 or 5, 6, and then we end up coming back into that game, right? So I think they understood those moments. There's always going to be moments still that you get wrong, but kind of eliminating and mitigating how many of those moments turn into big mistakes throughout the course of a game, I think is, a lot of the conversations that I've had with the younger guys. Good?
Awesome. Thanks, Evan.
All right, it is.